the bottom of the screen. There you go. Hey, we figured it out.
You guys got to give me a break. It was my first time.
No, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Not bad.
I've seen some Gen Xers and some boomers do way worse at it. Thank you so much.
60. Give me a break.
Well, you look fucking great for 60, my man.
Right on.
Hi. So, welcome. Are you waiting to get your headphones on, or can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Actually, before we do anything, I have to change the settings to cut off these channel points because some people might come in to troll us.
Of course.
And they'll, well, because we have videos that you can play for channel points, and then they'll play like all the videos all at once to cover up the interview or something. And people do some wild stuff. So let me fix that real quick.
Excellent.
Viewer rewards, channel points. We're only going to turn them off just for the interview portion, chat. So don't you worry. But while we're doing that, hello, Buck Angel. Can you introduce yourself? I assume everyone that's here probably knows who you are, but like, you know, just a quick, you know, oh my God, I love the Trampaw hat. Sorry.
I can put my tranny. I have a tranny hat too. I can put that on.
That actually might be against Twitch's TOS terms of service.
Oh no, I think not, because I am a trans. I'm an actual transsexual person, and if they even try that shit, that's why I wear it all the time, because I want to see if people are going to say that shit. I'm an actual living tranny.
You know what?
I love this.
You know what? I love your fucking energy. If you want to wear that hat, you wear that damn hat. I'll take if I get a weekend ban or something, like whatever, fuck it. We'll be back anyways.
No, fuck it. It'll give you a lot of good PR. Hold on.
All right, let's go. I fucking love Buck so much. Oh, there we go. Oh, God, you are a goddamn legend. You are a goddamn legend, sir.
Right on. Thank you, friend.
So,
the world's insane. So yeah, I'll introduce myself to all your peoples, right? So, Hey everybody, thanks for having me on, my friend. I totally appreciate you. So I'm a transsexual man, which means I was born female, and I'm a biological female. I still am a female. Scary, but I was born female, and I transitioned to live as a man 30 years ago, and I started my work in pornography. I'm still in the porn business, but more on the sex toy side of it. I create products. I'm in the cannabis business. I'm a huge activist for not trans, but for the truth, and whatever that means. I'm all about, you know, making everyone happy in the world and trying to get us to coexist as opposed to hating them.
Oh my God, I love it. So so I have a structured interview here. Like, you know, like it's kind of free form, but I have like, you know, topics and an order and stuff, which I kind of discuss with you. But about how much time do you have?
I have about an hour, a little over an hour, if that's all right. I have to go to my son's school. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I just wanted to know before I get into it, like, so we don't get too heavy into one section and then kind of leave out the other section. So, so just a little bit of background against us. I'm sure you checked us out a little bit, but you know, we are the most hardcore that a libertarian can get, which is we are anarchists, free market anarchists, anarcho-capitalists, heavily based in individual rights and individual philosophy. One of those things that we, you know, say often in terms of this type of discussion is there are no trans rights, there are human rights. And, you know, and there should be those human rights. And some of those human rights regard parental rights and whether or not we should be damaging children. And so, you know, we get into these debates. I get into a lot of debates with like the left mostly, about some of these culture issues. And they're like, oh, dumb right winger and stuff. And then, you know, what ends up happening eventually will be some portion of the debate. And then I'll say, you're engaged in a gender ideology that is a neo-Marxist philosophy based off of the Frankfurt School and critical theory that is engaged in a Marcusean socialist state that uses heteronormativity as a presupposition of the super status and cisgender. And this is Marxist philosophy that eventually leads to the downfall of Western society. And then they look at me and they go, you're crazy. And that sounds like conspiracy theories.
I love you, dude.
You're right.
That was so good.
You know, so like I feel these interviews I think really help illustrate the real cost and the real nature of it, and help ground some of those things that are hard to understand in real life experiences in the real world. And so I'm so happy that you're here, and I'd love to get started.
Right on, my friend. So I'm totally on board with you. Like, we've gone mad. The world's gone mad. And if we don't have these conversations, And also, I live in a country where we're supposed to be free and we're supposed to be able to do whatever we need to do, as long as we're not, stabbing someone. But, it's just out of control. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So I guess, to start this off, I don't ever want to assume. I like to do everything like tabula rasa. So first of all, if you hear a question and it's something you've answered before, like, I understand that if you want to skip it, that's cool. If you want to give a quick answer, like, at some point we're gonna be like, how do you feel about sports? How do you feel about bathrooms? And it's like, dude, I've answered that question like 30 fucking times. You know what I mean? You're like, you know what I mean? Like, feel free to just be like, we get it. Quick answer, next, right? But I do want to start with kind of like your story. Can you give us like a little bit of a beginning of like, your history as far as I like, you were the first in California and all those things, and maybe like some of your mind and stuff. Like where did this start? I believe it was a tomboy journey first.
It was, it's pretty much everyone out there is going to resonate with my early story. I was born in 1962 and in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. And I was a little Valley girl, but I wasn't a little Valley girl. I was an actual little boy, which, is totally normal. Tomboy, right? Totally masculine, blah, blah, blah. All of that. I had an awesome childhood. I don't want anybody to think I had a shitty childhood, because I didn't. I had a really amazing childhood, and my parents were amazing, and they really did the best they could do in the 60s and 70s when we didn't have what we have today. So my parents were, really, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have such awesome parents. But there became a time when I couldn't really connect with my body, because what does happen is puberty. And what happens for a person like myself, who is a female, is breasts start to grow, and then you get your period, and those things just destroy you as somebody who feels male. So then I ended up becoming an alcoholic, a drug addict. I became homeless. My story's too long. That's why I'm writing a book. But I became a fashion model. I went to Europe, and I was one of the very first androgynous female fashion models.
Yes.
And and that just was a total nightmare, because I hated being a woman, but I would just do tons of coke and drink and let them dress me however they wanted.
Can I engage for a moment here? The fashion industry is so, like, especially back in the day, is so well known for dysmorphic issues. So well known for, that constant need to maintain the body, extremely high rates of bulimia, eating disorders and purging and things of that nature. As someone that was kind of like questioning their body, what do you think the effect of being in the fashion industry had on the way that you viewed your body and the connection that you had with your identity?
Excellent question. And I'm sure it had some effect on me, because, well, the thing that was great about the fashion industry, though, is it sort of on some level revered me as a androgynous person, because I was so androgynous. People could not tell if I was a woman or a man, I was literally at the beginning of the fashion industry pushing me to do that. But yes, there's a lot of anorexia, there's a lot of drug usage, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of nonsense goes on in that space. But they most definitely are, they would tell me I was fat, and I was far from fat. That's how crazy it was, that they would just lay all this stuff on you. But if you notice, now it's gone the other way in the fashion space. They're highlighting bigger people, which, I'm
not so sure. I'm not so sure I appreciate highlighting obesity and unhealthy behaviors. But I'm going to tell you, chat, Daddy does like some thick girls. All right. Sometimes I see some of those girls and I'm like, and everyone's like, this is disgusting. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It looks a little better than some of the other stuff that was touted around.
That's right.
So continuing on with your story, so you're finding yourself in fashion, and then as androgynous. And so, like, you're feeling like, I would assume, like, for the first time in your life, some validity while also some body dysmorphia combined at the same time.
Yeah, totally. It was insane. So I just drank, did tons of cocaine. I went to London to become one of the first females to join a male agency. And honestly, I actually missed the train, like, for reals, to Paris. And, like, that was it. They were like, we're done with you, because I kept missing gigs. I kept showing up with black eyes because I would get in fights with the dudes, because, we'd be drinking. The UK is crazy, man. It's so crazy. So I was amazing. So anyway, I show up with black eyes and looking like a crazy person, and they just sent me home to LA, where I had nobody. My family had disowned me, and I literally lived on the streets here in West Hollywood. And became a crackhead and started prostituting to sort of buy my crack. And long story short, I met somebody who took me home and almost killed me, and that was my awakening. because I said, please God, don't let me die. And I actually got sober from that. And I was 30 years sober. But about 2 years into my sobriety, I transitioned. I found a therapist who helped me understand that I have what's called gender dysphoria. And that was 30 years ago. And it's amazing, that journey, my journey to back to myself has just been amazing. I have nothing but, I'm here. I'm actually here. I'm alive. I turned 60 on Sunday, and I cannot believe that I am 60 years old.
So one of the things that I maybe if we could dig into it a little bit. First of all, thank you for being open about those things, right? Even when we talk to trans people or trans people that are, critical of the modern gender ideology movement, if you want to, I call it gender Marxism, but that's just what it is.
Sure.
But they're recalcitrant to share some of those rock bottom stories because it's really hard. And for you to do that, like with a smile, really shows your strength. And I appreciate that. But one of the things I wanted to maybe key in for a second, because you said, I went to therapy, right? And maybe you could explain what your therapeutic process was, because what it used to be like and what it is today, I think, are two radically different things.
That's right. So I had a system. We used to have a system in place, which is a system of safety, but the new kids call it gatekeeping, which is totally unbelievable that they would say that. The reason I'm here, the reason I'm solid, the reason I've never looked back, the reason why the world likes me is because I went through a system to make sure that I was making the right choice. Look at me, you guys. I can't go back. I cannot go back. I literally took my breasts off. I grew a beard. I look like an ugly old dude. Like I could never be a woman again.
Some of the people in my chat are actually jealous of your beard. They're like, and I've got some Zoomers in here that haven't quite gotten their beard fully out. And you have alopecia. Like that's different.
I'm still salty.
Right on.
You can't grow hair. That's very different.
You're still salty. So the system was I had to go to a therapist for 2 years. I had to live as a man for 2 years. So I had to live as Buck without any transition, any of that. And I had to do therapy for 2 years, and I had to just do that until the therapist thought that, it was time for me to go to the next level, which was endocrinologist. And so the endocrinologist had never worked with a man like me before. He only worked with men becoming women, but he never worked with a woman becoming a man. So he told me basically, you're my guinea pig, dude. And I'm like, but honestly, I had no choice. My mantra back then was, if it doesn't work out, I'll kill myself. That was always in my head. To suicide. Like if it doesn't work, I'll just off myself, because that's just the way it is. But it worked, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah. I mean, you were the first in the state of California to go through
in Los Angeles. Oh,
it was Los Angeles. I thought it was California.
There's other guys. There's a lot of guys like me out there. They're not necessarily as old as me, but guys have been transitioning for years and years, 30, 40 years. It's just that we blend in. That's what people need to understand. Transsexual people want to blend in. I want to be you. I want to hang out with you. I don't want anybody to know I'm a trans person. Today, people take on the identity of trans. This isn't an identity choice. This is a medical condition. Big difference.
Yeah. So I guess, moving from there, how did you end up in the porn industry, and what was that like? You know what I mean? Like, how was that like, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of this, I mean, like, I feel like you're already kind of like in a sensitive area with your identity and things like that. And like, I mean, obviously you've done modeling, but like, what was that like? Why did you make that choice? Was it a survival thing? Was it a natural fit for you? Like, and let's move into that a little bit, I guess.
Okay, great. So, people don't like porn. So I'll just start there. And I actually like porn. And so I think porn is an adult space. It's called adult entertainment. So people need to remember that. I made movies for adults only. Now, why I did it was I was with my wife, who was a professional dominatrix at the time, and which is kind of similar to the sex industry, but I didn't see. And so being attached to that, I was also attached to, I learned how to code. And so I helped trans women build their websites in the porn business. And I didn't see any trans men, none. I created the genre 21 years ago. There was none. And I thought to myself, wow, this is weird. You see all these trans, remember they used to call them, are we allowed to use kind of language on here, or is it not okay? Well, like chicks with dicks.
So I'm gonna say usually language is not an issue, but Twitch is incredibly protective in their terms of service when it comes to transgender things. That's what got Destiny kicked off of Twitch.
You're kidding me.
I mean, we don't know. We can't prove that, but I mean, it was probably Keffels and Destiny beef.
Wow.
So that is it's a very protected thing on Twitch. So certain terms like that,
with, blah blah blah, lady boys, all of that. So I just thought, wow, there's no dude like me, and the dude with the vagina. And I totally created that, and it just like people hated me, dude. But I did it really because I didn't see myself in a sexual space. And sex is very important to me. And sex is one of the reasons why I really resonated with my body. And I didn't get a penis because I was okay. And I had, sex partners and people who were just totally okay with my body. And it really helped me connect to myself that I didn't have to get that surgery. And I didn't really want that surgery. But in order to be a man, you need a penis. And it was very hard for me to...
Can I dig into that a little bit? You said you said that sex, like in a way, like validated you in certain ways. So like, would you say that like your body dysmorphia was more about how you looked on the outside, walking around, going to the grocery store, being in the world, but in terms of the intimacy that you had, so long as you didn't feel the need or the desire to necessarily be the top male sexual partner, but instead you just wanted to be validated and appreciated for who you were. And because you found that in sex, you felt a healthy connection to porn? Like, how did that work a little bit?
You totally got it. You totally got it. And I know it seems so crazy, but I'll use this example. There are men out there who have very, very small penises, and we always make fun of them and funny, small, but it's not funny. It's actually very difficult for these guys to deal with themselves because, it's like, big penises are revered and little penises are that. So on some level, I'm the same. I'm a guy who had a little penis and I didn't know how to, on some level, to deal with that. So what happened was that I just realized I wasn't going to get that surgery ever. And that surgery is something that's hiding, right? So what you said, I wanted the world to see me. The world isn't going to necessarily see me naked until I started doing the porn. But I did the porn in order to make myself feel validated on some level with my own body. And it did. It actually did it. Because I got so many people telling me, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gay men. Gay men became my biggest customer base. They were like, oh my God. It's so crazy. They were like, I dreamt of a man with a vagina my whole life. I'm like, really? I think I just opened Pandora's box.
That does not surprise me at all, to be honest.
Sounds like a right place, right time, right uniform.
That's right, my friend. That's exactly right.
So okay, so since we're working on an hour, I think we did a great job of summarizing that. So as you get older, right, as you've kind of transitioned, no pun intended, transition. A little bit older, not doing the grind of like putting out 100 films a year and things like that. Start getting into the business of, products and merchandise. And you begin to see the radical feminist movement kind of connect with intersectionality. And you start to see this shift from third and fourth wave feminists between, the trans exclusionary radical feminists and the kind of the more modern gender ideologists, gender Marxist individuals that are against the idea of gender itself, right? Attacking that, like, what were those kind of initial reactions and how did you feel given your experience and your life and your story, seeing this new wave? Like, did it how did that come along into where you are today, where you're like talking to people like us?
It's heartbreaking for me to see my community become so wingnutty. Number one. Number two, let me tell you, when I transitioned, I was in the gay women's community. I was a very butch, dykey butch, woman, because it was the only place I ever really could be on some level, though I kept saying I feel like a man, and they kept shutting that down. But they eventually just totally told me I was a traitor and get out of here, and that's gross, you're becoming a man. So I lost all my friends in my transition. It was horrible. So fast forward, I pretty much lived my life. Remember, I transitioned 30 years ago. There was no internet. There was no any of this things, these apps, this thing, all of this. So for about 10 to 15 years, I lived this amazing just kind of life of being myself and enjoying my life. And I would say in the last 10, I started seeing what you're saying happen. And I started seeing a shift in language. And I started seeing this, you don't need gender dysphoria to be trans. But I just kind of shrugged it off as an older guy that was like, these kids are just playing with shit, because kids play with stuff. So I'm just
they're
like,
rebelling.
they're just, yeah, that's right. Totally. And I'm super cool with that. Like, cause I was a hardcore punk rocker when I was a kid, like whatever, it's all good. But it wasn't all good. And now I'm mad at myself because I did look the other way. And now it's come to it. Then it just started literally becoming like a, what do you call it? Like a ball. It was just like picking speed. I'm like, does anybody else see this? And everybody got weird in the community and nobody wanted to talk about it. And I'm like, we need to talk about this, you guys. This is not okay. You do need gender dysphoria to be trans. You do need to go through a system. There's no such thing as self-ID. I just knew it. I knew self-ID was going to be the end all be all of everything. And so, it was like I saw the train crash before it crashed and there was nothing I could do about it. And a lot of us feel that way. And so we got silenced. We actually got silenced. I got silenced in a way that my own community was like, don't buy Buck's products. I created the very first transgender male sex toy in the world. I mean, that sounds like whatever, but it's a really important thing. It really helped guys connect to their bodies. And then they're telling me, the community, not to buy my products and to boycott me. And I'm like, what's happening here? This is actually not community anymore. That's when I saw culty. I saw culty weird energy coming out of there.
Yeah, it's I mean, people say it's a religion, but I think the problem with that is that conservatives are 60 years behind in their philosophy education.
Yeah.
True. And that's because the new left started these kind of movements, in the 60s. And this is the natural conclusion of that. And that is, it's not a religion. It's an ideology that creates religious followers. It's a tool of those that want a socialist utopia, that want to do away with categories at all and equalize us all, or I should say equalize us all, right? And so, and it is good, I think, to see people kind of waking up to what is going on, for sure. But I sometimes I struggle to wonder if it's too little too late.
Let's not say that.
Yeah.
Right? I say it all the time in my house.
No black pills. No black pills from Tran-Paw. Love it.
So I'm like, you know what? No. Let's start having the conversation. First off, it's why I'm here. And I love that you asked me to come on the show. So, because you're not scared to have the conversation.
Not at all.
And secondly, no, they are not going to do this. They are not. No way. I'm not going to let it happen. And many people are waking up, like you said. And that's because we're having this conversation. Look, trans people exist. You're looking at one. It's an actual real thing. And we do suffer and we do need to have medication and we do need to move forward. I would not be here if I did not transition. And, I don't know if you care about that or people out there care about that or not, but I'm alive today because of that. Now, that being said, now we're getting overrun with the wingnuts who are saying all kinds of crazy stuff about trans, or having little 8-year-olds getting medication, or cutting off boobs of 13-year-olds. That is nothing to do with being trans. Nothing. That is some other kind of control, what you just said.
Yes.
And so what are they trying to do here, which is very creepy to me? And as a trans person, I'm going to tell you, no. Nope. Whatever's happening, no. It's just not cool.
I can tell. Well, so since we need a white pill, I'll ask you one question about the porn industry.
Okay.
We'll back up just a little bit before we really get into the headiness of debating all these things and what's happening with our children. Well, I won't say debating, but discussing. How do you feel about OnlyFans? Because I hear a really interesting dichotomy between people that are in sex work, right? And the people that are in sex work, the answer that I usually get is that OnlyFans is amazing because it allows an individual to work for themselves, to work outside of an industry that has been very abusive to a lot of people. It's been good to a lot of people, yourself included, but it's been very harmful and abusive to a lot of people as well. And for people to work for themselves has been an amazing thing. And then from the kind of more trad-conny anti-porn people, you hear this opposite, which is that OnlyFans is the kind of like commodification, right? Like to use the anti-capitalist terms, right? Of an industry that was regulated, that was mostly in a place that was towards adults, but is now in a place where it is so freely and widely available to everyone that it is doing some form of harm because of its ease of access and use to society, and the ability for people to become addicted, or the ability for children to access it is as readily and as easily as they can steal mommy's credit card. So how do you feel about OnlyFans?
Well, I mean, that's a lot there. So as a person who does respect my business of pornography and do believe that it is a great business, I love being in the porn business. I do have boundaries, but there are people in the business who don't have boundaries. Now, that's always been there. That has never not been there. Okay, so I can tell you, when I created my movies, they were being ripped off. I think, what was the torrent sites? Remember the torrent sites and all of that? I think that came in about 5 or so years after. And they would rip my movies off and put them all over the internet for free. And it was like, so that already started way before OnlyFans. And way before OnlyFans, models were already putting stuff up on their own websites. We were building our own websites so I was one of the very first people to actually as a performer, to create my own studio, Buck Angel Entertainment, because I saw the nonsense. So I own all my own content, which is actually very unheard of. So everything that I make is mine, not the studio. Now, of course, there's crappy stuff in the industry, blah, blah. OnlyFans does give an opportunity for people to create their own space, blah, blah, blah. But OnlyFans is complete, total nonsense. And that being said, because they completely screwed so many people over with the credit card. Remember the credit card thing?
Yes.
And they couldn't get a
payment processors.
Oh my God. It's like we've been dealing with that forever in the porn industry. Are you kidding me? And all of a sudden they pulled that and everyone came off of the site and they were like, never mind. They weirdly found another credit card processor. So also, yes, kids see porn today because what do we have? We have all of this access. Whose problem is the access to the internet? Is it
Parents.
Your problem or is it? That's right. I'm a parent.
I'm a parent myself. Yes.
That's right. And my kid does not go on the internet until I need to see everything he watches, everything he sees. And I make an effort to do all of that. So as a parent, I take full responsibility for what he sees and what he doesn't see. So I don't know. I have that. So I'm going to say parents need to start to step up and, it's accessible.
I love to hear it. Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, that would be my view as well.
That's right. What about alcohol, my friend? Alcohol is accessible. Your kid can go down to the street if he wanted to stand outside of 7-Eleven and give somebody $20 to buy him some beer. So,
I was buying beer at 16. I had a decent enough beard that I could pass for 21 when I was 16. Right. I've looked this old, Chad, for like 15 years. All right. Like I haven't aged a day. I've always looked 35. And Excellent. Once I'm 35, I hope I still look 35.
Excellent.
That's crazy. So a little bit of a curveball here. Where do you believe rights come from?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. I think rights are earned on some level, depending on the type of rights that you're talking about. I don't think you could just let's use the trans space as an example. Like trans rights are human rights. Well, what does that even mean? What are trans rights, right? So it's kind of a tricky question because it depends, I guess, on the rights. The right to kill somebody or the right to have an abortion or the right to create pornography. I think that it's not an easy question that you could just give one answer to. I think it depends on what we are giving the rights to, right? I mean, that's how I feel.
So, the reason I asked that question is I have a primarily hardcore libertarian audience, right? And so, it's something that honestly should be asked of anyone we speak to get them a better understanding of where their philosophy is at. Because from our perspective, individual rights come from the right of self-ownership. I have a right to my body. And by that, we derive mixing labor with products derives a right of private property. And those are the fundamental rights that we draw all of our conclusions from. And so it's very interesting when we hear the space of trans rights. And to us, it's almost a foreign or an all too common kind of thing that we believe to be not wrong, because it comes from a philosophy that rights are granted by majority vote of the government or by power. And it's like, well, if that's true, did Hitler violate the rights of the Jews? Because it was the power was there, the people voted for it, or at least 40% did. And so right. And so it's an interesting question to kind of say that, because that's how I always feel when I hear these discussions about trans rights. It's like, no, you have the right to self-ownership, and children are unable to consent. Children can't consent.
Thank you, sir.
And so
sir.
parents are the default guardians of children.
That's right.
And so when I would say when I see a child that is 8 years old going on GRNH antigen therapy and going into gender affirming clinics where they're getting diagnoses on their first visit, right? What I'm seeing is neglectful parents that are revoking their right to be the guardian of those children and neglecting and abusing those children. That is what I see. And so I wanted to use this conversation of rights to begin to kind of transition into a discussion on children, like, and where the real consequences of this change in philosophy that has happened over the last 10 years has led us to a place now where, you know, giving someone a diagnosis of transgender, giving someone a diagnosis of gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, or gender confusion, if we want to use an older term, right? Give that diagnosis means roughly $13,000 a year for medical associations and for large corporations that produce things like Lupros that are killing children. And so that ideology combined with what the philosophy that has moved in the AMA and the APA is causing a situation we're in now, which is with children. And I want to pick your brain. Like, what's your initial reaction to what I'm saying?
Oh, I want to just like die because kids should not be transitioning at medical, okay, at all. So what I did, so there's that, number one. And why I say that is because kids cannot make that choice. Come on, people. Kids cannot say I'm trans and they know what that means. They can say it, but they have no idea what that means. Secondly, when you start giving these kids irreversible. Hear me out there. I am so sick and tired of my community, it's not my community. The community saying it's reversible. It is clearly not reversible. Look at me. Secondly, if you lop somebody's breasts off or do some type of surgery, forget it. They're never going back. I don't care about fake breasts. Fake breasts are not real breasts. So there's a lot to unpack there, my friend, but I'm going to tell you this. A child cannot make that choice. Parents are being lied to. So as a parent, I understand because I'm going to the doctor to say, hey, wait a minute, my kid is suffering from this situation. And the doctor's saying, well, the best thing you can do for your kid is put them on Lupron, and then in 5 months, we'll put them on testosterone, and they'll be perfectly fine. So the parent hears that from the doctors, right? So I feel bad on some level for some parents. Now, some of them have Munchausen. I have no doubt about it. I'm watching them put their pictures of their kids all over the internet. I get in fights with them all the time. I'm like, if you're so worried about your child, why are you on Instagram posting every day with your child and how beautiful? What about when your child gets old enough to look back and say, wow, mom, you outed me without asking me? Maybe they don't want people to know they're trans. You're just doing this because you want to be popular because it's the cool thing to do. I really believe that. I really do believe that.
I mean, so yeah, talking about Lupron and talking about children, I guess a bit of a curveball. Are you worried that as you said community, I don't call it a community at all because I don't see a city where these people live. It's an online space where the loudest, most angry voices are heard the most. And you know, because like when I meet a lot of trans people in real life, overwhelmingly the people that I meet like that are normal people, and I say normal as in not like online all the time, like terminally online and, you know, engaged in activism, all they want is to pass.
That's right.
All they want is to pass and to be left alone. You know, and we're seeing a new shift, you know, 40% of kids identifying as, you know, LGBTQAI plus. I usually add WTF-MAP for what the fuck minor attracted persons. But
that's excellent. I'm taking that from you.
It's okay. You use that. But you know, but we see 40% in Gen Z in California school systems. That's insane. The idea that it destroys the idea that we're born this way, because you're now making the argument that like 39% of the world's population has been in the closet throughout all of human history. And that's insane to me, right? Like that just doesn't fit any numbers.
No.
But a bit of a.
So wait, let me tell you this.
Go ahead.
Where were they all when I was transitioning? How come all the ladies that were, oh, you're a traitor, this is weird. Do you know some of those people now, fast forward 20, 30 years, are like transitioning now? Do you know? And so I'm like, wait a minute here. If you actually had that feeling, you would have had it back then. Because it's actually in your body since you're a little kid. It is in you. It is there. It is gender dysphoria. You're born with it. It is there. So it's weird to me that nobody transitioned back in the day, but all of a sudden now there's a massive amount of people transitioning. And it has to have some of the social media influence, peer pressure. I mean, I read stories daily from these kids who are in detransition groups, they're detransition group. They're all like, well, my friend told me I was, and I decided, and there's a lot of peer pressure there. 100% there
the
is.
Internet and Discord servers and places like that are where sexuality and grooming occur in such a degree. And now we have grooming in schools, right? I mean, we have, I mean, there was a story of a leaked conference in California where the Rainbow, what was it? The Rainbow group? I can't remember. Rainbow something, regardless, Rainbow something. Short Fat Otaku did a video on it, and they were specifically monitoring children's internet access. They were monitoring what they were doing on social media. They were monitoring them in the classrooms to see if they were isolated. They would bring them into into groups. Then they would give them attention, tell them not to tell their parents. They would give them special attention, tell them how great they were, tell them the genderbread stuff over and over again. And eventually, in order to stay in the group, they were required to change their name. So they would socially transition children ahead of time. Now, obviously, this is an isolated incident, but this is the logical conclusion if left untrammeled. And so, you know, I mean, like, if it was an issue before, the thing that scares me the most, I have a son with autism, right? And I know that autistic children, that once they get high functioning, right? We hope he will be. Pretty sure he will. They tend to have fixations, specific and intense fixations. Same thing with ADHD, to a lesser degree, OCD, things like that. And like, I know what can happen, having seen these stories, when they find a child, give them special attention, triangulate them from their parents, tell them you're special, love bomb them is what they called it, right? And then in its grooming behavior that is occurring, you know, I guess I'm like, now I'm getting mad, so I'm like off of the point, and I'm no longer being a good interviewer. I'm no longer being what is your reaction to like that process in schools? That is this new
I hear
wave.
you, my friend. I hear you with your son, the autism. They're equating autism to trans. I'm like, what? If you understood autism, what you just said, they're in a space where they fixate on things, and you know, and so of course we have a high rate of autism and trans. I mean, they're literally plugging it together, and so you know, gosh, dude, it's just it's mind blowing, and it's actually really depressing for me to see the children being put in front of the trans movement. You know, that's what they're doing. They're using the kids. That's why save trans kids. Trans kids matter. Trans kids. What are trans kids? What is a trans kid? That's an actual, not a real thing. It's a child with dysphoria, which could grow out of it. I don't call them trans kids. I call them kids with dysphoria. And it could be many kinds of dysphoria. We don't have one kind of dysphoria. Dysphoria of your breasts, dysphoria of your body, dysphoria of your hands, dysphoria of your eyes. I mean, dysphoria is a thing. And so kids get, you know, we know kids are so easily influenced. It's a real thing.
I mean, I thought I was going to be a Power Ranger, an archaeologist, and a Marine sniper when I was 10 years old.
That's right. So when you're giving them the trans thing, and then you're giving them all kinds of accolades, right, for being trans, and trans is so cool and hot, all the kids want to be trans now. Of course, I totally get it. I understand that.
Well, there's a flip
side.
Not real. There's a flip side too, and I think that flip side is that they're also packaging their trauma, packaging their depression, packaging their social anxiety, packaging generalized anxiety disorder, autism, OCD, all of these things, right, that are causing distress, and saying the answer is to transition. And so my current theory of the science is that we do see general life satisfaction surveys go up after gender reassignment surgery and hormone replacement therapy, right? And so the answer, and we see suicidality drop a little bit. And so the answer is, well, these kids, you have to do this because of the suicides. We get beaten over the head with this all the time. The suicides, you have to do this. And what I'm seeing is, well, we don't have long-term studies, and the long-term studies that we do have show that the suicide goes back up 8 to 10 years later. And the question for me is, and I know this is the really controversial take, but, and I don't want to insult anybody, but I want to be honest. I want to search for the truth. When you start to transition your gender, you are ugly. I'm sorry, you're ugly. You're a very unattractive person when you're in a liminal space between two genders.
That's right.
And so society treats you horribly because you're ugly and weird. And then you start to pass, and all of a sudden your suicidality goes down slightly, your depression goes down slightly, and then they go, aha, it was a success story. And then 8 to 10 years later, you see those rates spike back up. And it's like, could it be possible, just thinking as someone that went to grad school for counseling, right? Could it be possible that when you package all of these things and have them fixate on that and say, this is going to fix it, they focus on those things, shit gets worse because you dealt with no fucking trauma whatsoever. You didn't give them proper psychotherapy. You didn't help resolve issues, and you force them into this position, and then you chemically castrate them, poison them, weaken their bones, bone density, you know, give 30-year-old male to females osteoporosis like that. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, why did they spike back up? It's like, well, maybe because they have all of this undealt with shit that you called gender dysphoria that wasn't. How do you feel about that process, that medicalization of all of the psycho, you know, the comorbidities with gender dysphoria? And how do we piece and pick that apart?
Well, first off, you hit it on the head. You cannot just shove medicine down somebody's like, okay, you're on your way, go. You literally hit it on the head. All you're doing is fixing the outside. I say it all the time to these kids. You are literally going, like you're buying a car and then you're going to fix your car up because it's such a cool. Did you look at the engine, my friend? Did you check out the engine? I don't care how much work you do to that car. You paint it, you put wheels on it, you know, you put interior in it. It's looking badass, and you got to drive it and it doesn't drive. That's the same with what's happening to you when you don't go to therapy, but you literally do surgery, you do all these things, you did not work on the engine, kiddo. And so I say that all the time. I don't care how much you transition your physical space. I went to over 10 years of therapy before I transitioned. And again, I don't want people to think I'm the be all end all of trans people, like I know it all. No, it's all my story and why I'm solid, and people see me as a solid person, and I have never looked back. Therapy is the number one thing. So we're missing that one step, my friend. We're missing that one step because they call it gatekeeping. They call it gatekeeping because they want to get a mass amount of what happens when you get a ton of people? You have power. The more people you get on board, the more power you have. So who's ever the puppeteer in this situation, because there's a puppeteer, is literally using the kids in order to create a mass amount of trans people to make a point. But they're not going to make the point. They're literally taking my life away from me, because what's going to happen is they're going to see that this is complete, total nonsense. It's smoke and mirrors. And then we're going to get all of our medicine taken away.
100%. So another question I would say is a bit of another curveball, throw a little bit of a curveball. As a transsexual, self-identifying transsexual, and tranny, apparently, as that person, do you fear that the tradcon kind of right-wing return to family values swing of the pendulum, especially when looking at the dark history of people like, let's say, money and and some of the original scientists and things like that? Do you fear that your ability to authentically be yourself, your ability to live freely in your life and your body, and that other people that are legitimately transgender or suffering from gender dysphoria and gender identity disorder, do you fear that this is causing a shift in right-wing individuals and an inability to be able to see you for who you are?
100%. And it's why I go on all those shows. I go on tons of those really hardcore right-wing Christian, you're a freak talk shows or whatever, podcasts, because I always walk away shaking hands, my friend. I always walk away making a new friend, which is so bizarre. I'm in the porn business and the cannabis business, and I'm a tranny. Like everything they hate. And there I am, because I feel like I'm the little, like the circus, there's always the dude cleaning up the stuff after the circus. I feel like I'm sweeping up the mess. So 100%, they hate us more than ever. Because what they think we're doing, which on some level I as well do, is an ideology. And that we're totally, sort of leading these kids down a path that's not for them. And who's going to clean that mess up? So who's going to, is the transsexual people. We're the ones that are going to be affected by it, because those kids could either detransition, right? Or go back to living in their other space. And we've been totally destroyed because these kids should never have been transitioning. But we're the ones who are going to get, the actual real people with real gender dysphoria and really need all of this stuff are the ones who are going to suffer from this. And so there's already kids taking up space, taking surgeries from actual real people who actually need the surgeries, right?
Right.
So there's detrans people get top surgery and then a year later go, whoops, I made a mistake. But no, nobody should ever, whoops, I made a mistake on something so drastic as removing your breasts. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. Because that is something that I've seen, and I'm only 31, but I've seen a total change in the way that trans people are treated. And it's interesting because, you know, fuck it, I'm going to go there. What I see in a lot of these very online, very open trans people is something that limited research has shown, which is that a large portion of the transgender community, if you will, is suffering from narcissistic personality disorder.
Yep. And you hit it.
And I think the science is still lagging, because my approximation is that it's not traditional NPD and it's not borderline personality disorder. What it is something that we talk about in Europe a little bit, but we don't talk about here in the States, which is covert or vulnerable narcissistic personality disorder, which is different from grandiose, because grandiose is I'm the greatest. Think Donald Trump. Right. And vulnerable covert narcissistic personality disorder is the idea that I'm a victim. The world hates me. I'm so special because, everything is against me because I'm so unique and I'm so different that nobody gets me. It's like being an emo 16-year-old kid for the rest of your life on steroids. And right. And it is an interesting thing. Like what is it? And it seems to be that this power in a lot of these games, obviously there is the philosophy there, but I think there's also this group of people that are clearly narcissists that engage in a need for narcissistic supply with an empty hole in themselves. And they have to feed that supply, and they strike back violently and against anyone that dares damage the self-image that they've constructed of themselves. And I wonder what damage that is doing with the current trend in social media, where everything is an algorithm that brings the most controversy to the top.
Great point. That's a great point, my friend. But you hit it on the head. Narcissism. There's tons of it. Tons of narcissistic rage, I call it, because they're so insane. If you literally say one thing to them, they lose their, the turf thing.
There's a term for that. There's a psychological term. It's called narcissistic collapse.
Collapse. I'm writing these down.
Yes, narcissistic collapse is when you challenge their narrative, their self-identity, they have to fight back to rebuild the narrative. So isolate themselves.
So that's right. I don't care what you say to me. You can say anything you want to me. I don't go there. I've never gone there. I don't care. You know what I mean? So why am I so solid, right? People say you guys know that. People say all kinds of stuff to me. The community basically hates me. The community. It's very culty. Pretty much a lot of those people don't like me, the newer generation. But that being said, because I won't back down, and so it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't care. You can say whatever you want. I literally take the word tranny and I embrace it, and I embrace everything. And I don't know if that's because I'm older, or I came from a space where I had to do it all on my own, and or that I really have gender dysphoria, and I really, you know what I mean? And I mean, it just blows my mind how people are so angry and weird and attacking. I'm like, you guys we're not going to change anything. We're changing nothing. We're actually going back 100 years. All the work that our elders have done for this community, you've literally destroyed. People hate us.
But
prior to all this, people loved me.
It's not about
No, it's not.
It's about two things. It's about the political power, and it's about the narcissism of the individual involved in the cult.
That's right. So where did all these narcissistic people come from?
That is a much greater question for Western society. What were you going to say, Mark?
Going back to what you were just saying, I noticed a lot during the Charlie Kirk interview that you did. You made a massive amount of inroads, just being a calm, reasonable person. You made your points very well, but you were never on the attack. You were just charming and casual, and that was the first big interview I saw of yours, to be honest.
Thank you.
And I was blown away. I thought it was one of the best argumentations for your side of the argument. And I think you just crushed Charlie Kirk. Outright crushed him in that. Just by being a calm, nice person.
On.
Right. It's because
thank you.
They depend upon like talking to like lefties that are gonna
Yep.
And it's completely disarmed Charlie Kirk, I think. I think you're right, Mark.
No, he totally freaked out. Like when he came out, he was all nervous and he was still putting a shirt on. You get to see it. He was shaking. I'm like, dude, what's up? Like he was so nervous and freaked out to have a conversation with me.
Not everybody is as comfortable on camera as you are, Buck Angel. Okay?
You had quite a bit of practice.
Okay? It was my vagina. Don't try it. He was freaked out by my vagina.
Just couldn't get the thought out of his head. He's like, I see the beard, but I know what else is there. It's happening to me.
He's like, what's happening?
The vulva's going to come out and jump at you.
I'm like, it's going to get you, dude.
So, another question. I have an inference that, well, not an inference, honestly, a legitimately backed opinion, that this movement is doing harm to the trans community, not just because of the social harm, but medical harm. And I mean that to the people with legitimate gender dysphoria. And the reason I say that is because when I look at the common sex research, it is so politically motivated. It is so anti-capitalist, anti-individualist. We need to turn these people into activists. Psychotherapy is now focusing almost exclusively on feminist therapy and narrative therapy, as opposed to cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, things like this. And I wonder if it's not just the children we're harming, but also, or the kids without with gender dysphoria, but without, that are not trans people, that just need to go through puberty and just need help, but also the people that no matter what you do, they will never be better until they transition. I feel like it's harming those people because the science is so watered down by ideology. Have you seen that change in the medical community the same way that I have, in the way that they treat these disorders?
Oh my God, the medical community is completely abandoned us on some level and have gone with the wingnuts. So they've gone with the ideology. Mm-hmm. And I really do think it's money-based. I have no doubt in my mind. I actually started doing a little research on my own, and I found, I think it's called marketwatch.com. And on there, they actually have an article about how to invest in trans surgery, because it's going to be $1 billion. Not even I'll send you the article, dude. Like it's going to be $1 billion business. I'm like, ew, I'm gonna throw up right now. Like, are you kidding me? So of course, on some level, the AMA, the Psychiatry Association, the Children's, what is it, the Association of Children's Medicine, whatever, all of them are on board with this. All of them. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute here. There's no way you could be on board with this if you are an actual doctor and an actual medical person who's actually doing your real research. So it's insane, and that's the problem. The number one problem is they have the backing of the medical association and all of these big people and pharmaceutical companies, and you know what I mean. So people just see it as, if the medical system says it's fine, then it's fine, and no one's even questioning it on some level.
Well, yeah. Well, I've seen it, especially in the psych community and amongst counselors. Many of them are terrified because. You work, I mean, like for people that don't know, if you're a psychologist or even a counselor, you do somewhere between, 60 credit hours and 90 credit hours in grad school. You go to an internship in grad school. After you get out of your internship, you're registered, but you're not licensed until you get 2,000 patient hours. Okay. You go through all of that work to finally make decent money. Right. And then if you get an ACA or an APA ethics violation, someone reports you and you have to go through a board, it can ruin your career even if you're not found guilty of anything. And so many of these people are terrified in America of taking a child and doing what used to be common sense psychotherapy, which is I need at least 20 sessions before I can legitimately think about giving you a proper diagnosis on this, right? And instead, they're doing diagnoses on first and second visits.
Oh my God. I'm like, what? That's not therapy. It's called affirmative therapy. I'm like,
gender affirming care. Yeah.
Oh my God. You're literally paying your therapist to say, yeah. I'm like, that's not therapy. Therapy is pushing back. My therapist pushed back on me. Well, it makes you feel like a man. Why do you think you're a man? Why do you think you're trans? I didn't say I was trans, but you know what I mean? Like, why? It took a year for her to even move to the next space with me. Right? So no. That is not therapy. Affirmative therapy is not therapy. It's basically paying to get your papers so that you can move forward. So you all out there don't think these kids who are being told they're trans, and let's just mark my words right here, 5 to 10 years, we're going to have a boatload of so many angry kids who are going to do lawsuits, who are going to do so much insane stuff, and it is going to be insane. So we better get all on board right now, because this is not, we're using kids. You guys, I don't care about people who are old enough to make choices for themselves. You're 20 years old and you're doing that. You're still not really old enough, but you're an adult in this country. And I'm worried about the kids who are underage, 8, 9, 10, being put on puberty blockers, all the stuff that they're lying to us about how it's a reversible. How is puberty reversible? When you take that off the table, there's going to be so many health problems with these children. Puberty is the reason you're a human being. And it's like so weird to me that we're just all acting like it's normal.
Yeah. So are you ready for a lightning round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Lightning round. Let's go. Sports, transgender sports, lightning round.
Well, what do you mean? That there's no such thing? I mean, trans women should not be competing in women's sports. So I don't know.
Fair enough. Bathrooms.
Yeah,
what do we do about bathrooms?
Okay, bathrooms. Bathrooms are great. We just make a gender-neutral bathroom. Why can't there be a third bathroom, people?
Thank you.
Hello, have you ever flown on an airplane? Have you ever gone to Europe? On the airplane, there's no gendered bathrooms. You got to use the same toilet as everybody else. What are you people tripping on? It's a toilet. Go and take a dump and leave, and no one cares.
Okay.
Stupid.
What is the appropriate age for hormone replacement therapy in your mind?
That's a great question. Now, that's going to be a little difficult for me. So
this one doesn't have to be lightning round. If you need more time.
Okay. If you can add therapy, and the person has gone through enough therapy that I believe somebody at 17, 18 years old could start on hormonal therapy. I do believe that if they've gone through at least a year or two of really hardcore therapy and really understand what they're doing. But that's really the lowest, and that's with really rigid, structure around that.
And then did you want to say something, Mark?
No.
I was sorry.
Anyways, sorry.
Mark. I do like 99% of the talking. I
see that.
Mark's he's in the background. People think he's just like there. He's like, what is he doing? And it's like, and I'm getting DMs from him, and I'm getting, and he's taking care of shit in the Discord and other things. He's the shadow Hokage is what he likes to call him. Yeah. So I guess the last question before I open it up to anything the audience wants to ask. What policies, because this is something that we don't really think about a lot because we're anarchists here, but there's also a lot of people here that are just regular libertarians. And so what policies do you think we should support to try and stem the tide of the damage that is being done? But also, keep it seems this ball is rolling. Is there any type of policy that you would support that you think could actually be helpful that won't harm people?
Well, number one, my focus is kill kids. I don't care what adults do. Honestly, I really don't. I care about kids. Yes. And what the policy first off, take all that nonsense out of school. Why are we teaching LGBT stuff to kids in school? Of course, there's going to be 1 in 50 kids that is an LGBT kid. There's not going to be 80 kids in 100. There's just not. That's a total lie. So first off, I do not think kids should be taught LGBT. I don't think they should be taught sex until they're maybe in middle school or high school, even taught, basically just basic, not sex, but reproduction, because I learned that when I was in 7th grade, what is your period? What is a penis? What is a vagina? Those are important because, my kid's 9, he'll be 10. He's going through it now. I see it. He's going through the puberty space where he talks about, wants to talk about things with me. He actually asked me what a pimp is. I was like, oh, no.
Well, you see, when your daddy was a young woman, a man kept other men from killing me and stole half my money in order to do it.
You're awesome. I told him, well, because he knows what a stripper is. And I said, well, basically, it's a manager for a stripper. I told him that.
Oh, what a Santa Claus answer.
Well, I know what it isn't, and it isn't easy.
Right, yeah.
All right, Big Daddy Kane. All right, so
kids, we shouldn't be teaching kids in school about all of it, and drag queens and all. I don't know what's happening in schools, but I'm super not cool with that.
I know you said you had an hour and 15, so I want to open it up to audience questions because we're getting right close to the hour mark. So I want to start asking people in the audience. highlight the message. Oh, did you grab some? Awesome. Go right
Yeah,
ahead.
I've grabbed the 3. I'm going to start with the one I think is the more interesting of the 3. It's from our friend Angie. There seems to be a trend where biological men think their lives would be easier if they were the opposite sex, and becoming trans is a quick fix with a dress and hormones. Could you share your unique perspective on how being biologically female affected or still affects your life as a trans man?
Great question. So, at first I did not, thank you for the question. I did not, kind of embrace my female side in the early part of my transition. I hated being a woman. I hated being a girl. I hated all of those things. So in the first kind of 5 or so years, I really just focused on becoming a man, whatever that even means. It wasn't until later on, as I became older, that I realized it's so important that for me not to disconnect. Now I've lived half my life as a woman and pretty much half my life as a man. So really, I think I'm a very, I think that my female side has created a great man on some level. And so I really feed into all of the things that I sort of learned as a female. And I don't let go of the things that I learned as a female, such as, for example, being on some level vulnerable. You don't teach men to be vulnerable. You teach men to be very that and cry. And I'm a big crybaby. And I think what we teach in the community is not good. We teach to disconnect from your old, right? They call it their dead name. They call it and disconnect from it. And, no, you should never disconnect from that. It's a really part of the journey of a transsexual person is to understand where you came from and where you're going to.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
That's interesting you ended with that, because I wasn't going to ask this one, but based on your answer, it might be more interesting. What was your name when you were a model?
Oh. Yeah. So when I was a woman, my name was Laura Jane, and such a girl name. So yeah, and so guys should send you guys my modeling card, everything. It's so 80s. It's crazy.
Oh no, I want to see it now. I want to see androgynous. I want to see androgynous.
It totally does.
I want to see androgynous, big-haired, buck angel.
I had blonde, bleached. Bridget Nielsen. Everybody used to say I look like Bridget Nielsen.
One of the people asked us, and it was one that I wanted to pick out because it's not necessarily a big question, but it is. Like, what's the deal with your book? Like, how's the book coming along? When do you expect it to be out? Do you have a title or working title?
Well, right now I'd love for the working title to be Trampa, but we'll see how that goes. And so it's hard. I'm a public speaker. That's how I basically travel the world and talk about my journey. But so I'm a better speaker than I'm a writer. Writing is also it's just a total gift, and if you are a good writer, God bless you. But I'm not. So right now I'm working with an agent, and they're helping me. So we're looking at the summer, because right now is the time. It is totally the time for me to get my book out, because I think I could get on every single talk show out there with my book.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter so you can get updates on that.
Yeah, right. It'd be
awesome. I think it'd be awesome if you could team up with Michael Malice for that, because he's helped to ghostwrite several celebrity books.
Actually, that's a great idea. Michael's a friend of mine. No, that's an excellent idea. I love him.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Michael Malice.
He's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
He's
such a
cool dude.
Yeah. Oh well, just next time you're emailing him, drop a name.
I will. I'll totally connect you guys. Yeah.
Will you?
Of course.
All right.
100%.
Fair enough.
I'm not a liar.
Oh shit! All right.
I wasn't gonna ask you because it seems faux pas, but yeah, if you're offering,
that's how it works. It's called networking.
Fair enough.
It's how I got where I'm at. I network all the time. I'm not shy, and don't be shy. What's the worst case scenario? He just says no.
Fair enough. So, question: does Buck feel quote right now versus prior to transition? It sure looks like he's happy at life.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I can't even tell. I could cry. I'm so happy. so I wasn't a happy person. I was a miserable person in my life. And I tried to commit suicide twice, and I was a cutter, and I was homeless, a crackhead. I mean, I could go on and on and on because I wasn't happy. And today I live such a beautiful, so why I'm here, you guys, because I want the world to see that, what you are being inundated with out there is not me. And it's not a lot of us. And we feel very, on some level, mad. And many people like me can't speak out because of their jobs. And, these people are nuts. And that's not trans. That is some kind of culty, weird space. And so I'm a super happy tranny. I want the world to see a super happy tranny.
Oh, shit. The next quote
is infectious.
The next quote needs to be, I'm a super happy tranny.
That's right.
And then just put Tran-Paul. Oh, God.
That's right. That's right.
Did you snag any other good questions?
Yeah, we have one from Casimir. Do you believe there is a difference between advocating for tolerance of outliers and advocating for the shift of what is considered normal and traditional? Do you believe the normal gender sex roles should be abolished or diluted?
No, I do not. First off, no, because I believe in biological sex. I'm a biological woman or a female. I will never not be anything else. So first off, no. I think that first off takes away from what you are. Why the reason you're transsexual is biology. I keep trying to put that in people's like. I would not be a transsexual person if I was not born female. So if we're going to take biology off the table, then trans people don't exist. Because the whole point of you transitioning is that you want to live in the other sex or gender. Now, gender roles, gender stereotypes, like a girl should wear a dress and a boy should wear pants. Those things can be, I think we need to, lay off. If a little girl is wanting to wear boy clothes, that doesn't mean she's a boy. It means she wants to wear boy clothes because they're more comfortable than girl clothes. So I think on some level, the thing that needs to be sort of just a little, we need to just lay off about being so heavy and let girls wear boy clothes and boys wear girl clothes, whatever that even means. But I do not think abolishing biological sex is going to help anybody, and it's actually a part of the world, and it's factual, and it's science, and it's how we make more humans. It's a real thing.
I love this question because it is just hilariously simple. Question for you: Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, PC, or get wrecked nerds?
Oh my God, you're gonna kill me. I got somebody just gave me like a PlayStation. I don't know if it's a 2 or a 3, and I'm just learning it because my son is like, dude, come on, we gotta play. So I have a PlayStation and he has an Xbox. So I'm trying to learn both of them right now because I want to be a kick-ass fucking trampa video game fucking expert. Can you imagine if I get all into the gaming? That would be hilarious.
Start dominating people on Fortnite, just crushing teenagers.
Totally. I'm like, here comes trampa.
That should be your gamer tag. Here comes trampa.
That's right. Right on. Right in that time.
Xbox Live Chat with Tranpaw is a television show or a podcast that I need in my life.
Let's do it.
Oh God, it will be banned everywhere. So another question.
Totally.
Another question that I think is interesting. I didn't think to bring kind of the modern, drama thing that's happening. But have you seen the Pride Kink kind of event? Drag your kids to Pride with like the neon sign that said it ain't gonna lick itself. And you had a child and they were wearing a shirt that said, don't mess with trans kids. And it was like a play on words from Texas. And you saw another one, a female with a rainbow skirt and a young female with a shirt that said equality equals equity. Right. And it was, and so it was all of this, like, what would you say to those parents that brought their children to this event? And what do you think about these events?
Well, first off, I don't think about those events, and I don't think they're okay. I've been in the LGBT community for 40 plus years, and we have our pride parades, which are always so very sexual for some reason, and that's just how it is. Kids don't belong there. Now,
they didn't used to be. They didn't used to be.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But they used to be. It used to be fucking. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, no,
I get mad about it. I get mad about it because
I know because it's gross.
Well, no, because it used to mean something. It used to be
I see what you mean.
It used to be a fucking community that was doing Stonewall. It used to be 1973 being burned alive by police in New Orleans. It used to be fuck you. I'm proud of who I am, and you're not gonna let me. You're not gonna silence me. You're not gonna shut me up. And now it's dudes wearing fucking bibs with like dominatrixes, fucking like with pet play and like children. And I'm like, what the fuck happened to Pride?
I know, it's actually been co-opted and taken away. That's why I don't go anymore. I just said, nope, that's not my pride, and that is some kind of weird space. Children don't belong in sexualized spaces. Drag queens are sexualized. And so when you start putting money in it, and that's sexual. What are you people talking about? That literally comes from the stripping space. I don't know what you're all talking about, that this is okay for kids. It's not okay for kids. They're getting mixed messages and things, and kids don't need to know about sex and sexuality at that age. They got all kinds of other stuff going on, and it's confusing, and it's weird, and it's groomy, and I don't like it. And so now look, we all get called groomers now. I get called a groomer, which is so horrible because now, you need to point at the real groomers. When you start taking the light off the real groomers and onto people like me, you're making a huge mistake. I'm far from a groomer. And so you see what happens now? We're all lumped into this space. And that's why we need to understand the community is not represented by one space. There's a huge amount of diversity there and different ways of thinking and being.
A very interesting question. Does Buck see a difference in the LGBT community since queer became a part? Is queer as political in the LGBTQ space as it is in the theory?
That's right. And so queer did ruin everything, 100%, because queer became this space where even people who are not even in the gay community started calling themselves queer, which I was like, what? Do you even understand what you're saying to about that? And so I think that word that was hurtful to many of us is now being used in a way that is disrespectful on so many levels. And the fact that they call it reclaiming. Well, how come I can't reclaim tranny then? I always call them out on that stuff. Like, they're like, oh, we're queer. I go, well, I'm a tranny. Oh, you can't say that. I go, well, then you can't say queer. What do you people talk? It's the most the hypocrisy is thick in that community. Thick, thick, thick. And so, no, I do see a difference now that we are LGBTQIA, whatever you said, maps.
I said WTFMAP.
Plus, they watered it down even further with, like, questioning.
Yeah,
like,
that's
weird
right.
I'm just questioning. What's going on around me?
I know, total. It's like, what are you talking? Get away from me, people. This has nothing to do with our community. And so they co-opted us and made us into some kind of joke.
Do you like drag shows? Just curious. I'm trying to drag Mark to one, and he doesn't want to go.
It's hilarious. I mean, yeah, I think that they're fun, and I have a ton of drag friends, and I'm friends with a lot of people who do it, and they feel the way I do. They feel like it's an adult space. It's not a children's space. And I feel the same with children beauty pageants. I always found those to be sick and weird. And when you dress up a little kid like an adult and parade around, it's kind of the same thing. John Benet Ramsey, that stuff is weird. And I never understood. You're like, literally, that looks sexualizing of children.
Audience got mad, and so it's redirect. But what do you think of the parents that bring their kids to the drag
That's
shows?
Right. It's the parents' fault. It's not the kids' fault. I'm not blaming the kids in any way, shape, or form. It's the parents. So the parents
what would
should
you
not
say
be...
to them?
I would say to them, I would say, why is your kid here? And they would say, well, because it's LGBT, but this is not a kid event. And they would be like, yes, it is. It's a total kid event. I said, but kids shouldn't be seeing this kind of, I would totally approach. I'm not shy to have a conversation with somebody.
There's many things Buck Angel is and isn't. Shy is not one of the things Buck Angel isn't. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. Did you have anything else?
Thank
Mark?
you guys.
Freya in chat, they said they were getting flagged trying to ask their question. They just followed us on Twitter. I was waiting for it to come in, but you're on a time schedule. It's
I can wait a couple more. I have a couple more minutes. I just have to be cut. She told me I had to cut off at 6:20. My wife.
No, you got 6 minutes. You got 6 minutes.
All right, we'll give it 2 minutes. See if it comes in. If not, oh well. I tried. I tried, Freya.
Right on.
We answered that question, degenerate savant. Sorry, that's the letters all together. Working title is Tran Paw, hoping to come out this summer, but we'll see what happens. Right. Trying to work with other writers and producers. And for you people that are not in like the entertainment or like the speaking or the streaming industry, like you guys see me 7 hours a day on here, and you're like, oh, he works 7 hours. It's like, dog, I'm working like 5 hours behind the scenes to do a 7-hour show.
That's right. People have no idea how much work it takes. What you're doing, it's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, but it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling to be able to have these conversations, especially a conversation like this, especially when someone says they'll talk to Michael Malice for us.
He's the coolest dude.
Well,
we're
anarcho-capitalists. We're anarcho-capitalists. So like there's a whole nother reason like that's a big idol in our movement, you might say.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess we haven't gotten the super happy tea thing. If I wanted to ask Transwell a question, I would message him. Okay, well, maybe hit him up on Twitter or something, because we got to get out of here. I apologize, but yeah. So if you want to have like a little outro or anything that you wanted to say to the community, or any final words that you wanted to, inspiration, whatever it is that you want to say, it was such a great time having you. Oh, it's like it made for a great interview. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah,
this was
totally
a pleasure.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you, my friend. No, I appreciate you guys a lot. So I'm just going to leave you with, don't think that everyone is the same in the trans space, because they're not. And also, if you feel a certain way about something that's going on, please start speaking out. We need you all to speak out. We cannot just be silenced, because this is not a space to be silenced in. Do you care about kids? If you care about kids, speak up, no matter what people say to you, no matter what. Block them, move them, whatever. But your voice counts, like my voice counts. And I cannot do this alone. And I care about these kids. And I'm telling you, we're going to have a huge, massive problem on our hands if we don't all start stepping up and saying, I know you all care about the kids. And that's what it is. You don't care about these kids. You care about them. That's why you speak out. So I appreciate you guys really having me on and having a real conversation. And so we can all just start getting together and not hating on each other. It's so stupid.
Okay, so before you go, okay, there's a button, okay? Listen, Buck Angel. No, I'm not testing you. There's a button down at the bottom, and it's a little gear, and it says user settings. You're going to go into your user settings, okay?
Okay.
And then what you want to do is you want to go to, where is it at? Privacy and safety. Okay. You want to click that. And then you scroll down and there says, who can add you as a friend? You want to cut that stuff off. Right. And you want to,
bottom.
It might be different on the Mac, but I'm letting you know.
Oh, I see. Okay. I know.
Right. I'm letting you know, like, okay, right. And you want to go through those settings a little bit if you're not going to delete your Discord, because there's about 360 people in this Discord that now have the ability to privately message you, and I can't guarantee that you won't get some form of harassment over Discord. Unless
bring it on, friends. Bring it on. I love harassment. Bring it on. But that being said, so it says who can send you a friend request? Everyone, friends of friends, or server members.
Yeah, you might want to cut those things off. You might want to just go through your settings at some point if you are getting inundated with a lot of messages, so that only people you're trying to talk to get there. Just want to let you know, because I know you had a little bit of struggle getting in here and getting Discord working.
I totally did.
Discord is a great space. If you ever want to do if you ever want to DM me either on Twitter or Discord, if you'd like to do an Ask Me Anything for the politics Discord, I know the owner of that Discord, and he has 60,000 members in that Discord.
Wow.
Tuesday he's going to have Roger Stone on. Right. So
what? Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I can if you want to DM me or whatever, I can hook you guys up in a conversation. Maybe do like a Tran Paul AMA. You'll bring in people that curate the questions. You can speak to a very large audience over Discord if you ever want to do something.
I would totally want to do it. The more we push my voice out there, because I can say a lot of things many people can't. You all know that, right?
Exactly.
Because I am. If you look at my Twitter, they don't ever take any. People report me all the time, and I write tranny and I write all kinds of stuff, but they never delete me because they can't. I'm a tranny. They can't delete me.
Yeah. So
right on, my friend.
After stream, I'll add you. It'll be like some crazy time in the morning or whatever. I'll put you in a group conversation with the owner of that Discord, and I'm positive he'll want to do an AMA schedule with you at some point. And that I've done an AMA with him, and I'm in there with like 40 people asking questions, and it's a great time. But they'll and they'll curate it so that nothing too wild happens, as long as you don't pay attention to chat. Dude. There's like Islamo-fascists in there. There's like all kinds. It's 60,000 people. It's insane. Oh, it's a super libertarian space. It is.
Right on, though. I love it. I'm all about, that's what I'm about. It doesn't matter. You can even send me hate. It's cool. It means that we need to have a conversation. If you hate me, we need to have a conversation about why you hate me so much.
Yeah. I'll hook you up with him, and that'll be that should be a fun AMA, because you can reach a lot of people with those.
Yeah, totally. Which would be really, wow. That's what I'm going to say. We just need to speak up. Everybody start speaking up. Just don't be scared of the crazy internet. Just speak up, please.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure having you. Go get stuff done with your son. Go be a good dad.
Right on. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Right on. Thanks, you guys. It means a lot to me. Have a great night.
You too. You just watched a clip from our Twitch channel, Fabian Liberty. If you like content like this, please like and subscribe here on YouTube, or go ahead and give us a follow on twitch.tv/Fabian Liberty.